Are you excited for Advent? Are you excited for December? Are we going to have so much fun knitting all our things? Oh, you bet.
Everyone, and welcome to a Knitty Heather Scrap. This is the series on my channel where I talk about shorter or more random subjects in the fiber world. For full details on everything I currently have on the needles, please check out my podcast episodes. Any of the yarn or patterns I talk about, I will list and link in the description box below as well. Today, I'd like to tell you all about my plans for December 2021 knitting, including Advent knitting. I did a very similar video to this last year where I talked about my December knitting plans. I'll link that video in the description box below for you to check out. Hopefully I can give you some inspiration for your own Advent or scrappy knitting projects. Did you order an Advent calendar this year, or did you do a mini swap with some friends? If so, I'd love to know all about it and what you're planning on knitting or crocheting with those minis. Leave a comment down below letting me know your December and Advent knitting plans. For me, this year I purchased 3.5 Advent calendars. One I purchased from Suburban Stitcher. That is a 25 20-gram mini skein set, and I got that on her singles base. I also got a 25 20-gram set from Clark & L on Etsy, and that I got on her worsted base. I've been getting her seasonal advents on her worsted base this year and adding them to my granny ripple blanket, and I just love it. I have a little bit of a different plan for her Christmas advent that I'll tell you about in a second, but I really loved her worsted base, and I thought it might be fun to do something with a little bit of a thicker yarn. I also purchased 2 advents from Sharon of Knit Style Yarns. This will be the 3rd year I have purchased from her. I got her 2019 and 2020 advent calendars, and they are both amazing. I really loved them. So I'm looking forward to her offerings this year. She actually offered 2 different advents, and I purchased them both. One is a 24 20-gram skein set that is, I believe, supposed to be more variegated. And then she did a 12 20-gram mini set that I believe she said was supposed to be more speckled. I cannot wait to see what they look like. I'm excited for all of my advent calendars. I think they're going to be amazing. I only plan on knitting with 2 of my calendars this year, actually during December, and then the other 2 I will knit up at the beginning of 2022. I do plan on casting on a project with my 24 skein set from Knit Style Yarns, and then I also plan on casting on a project with my 25 skein set from Clark & L. With my Knit Style Yarns advent, I am planning on casting on the Hygge and Hearth Infinity Scarf by Samantha Troya. I recently came upon this pattern and I think it is absolutely gorgeous. It's mostly garter stitch, but you do some increasing and decreasing to kind of create a chevron. And then it also is broken up with some beautiful eyelets. I think that's going to be absolutely gorgeous. I'm looking forward to casting that on with my larger Knit Style advent. And then with my Clark & L advent on the worsted base, I am planning on knitting the brand new Wrap It Real Good shawl pattern by Amba O'Brien. If you aren't familiar with Amba O'Brien, she has a lot of really amazing patterns out there for scrappy projects, advents, or fade sets. You name it, she's got a good pattern for you. Now this pattern isn't quite available yet, so I don't really know all of the details. I do know that it is written for a DK weight, and so I think her worsted is going to be just fine for that. And I absolutely love the pictures that they show so far. It's going to be really fun, and I cannot wait to see how all the different colors play with each other. Now for my continued advent knitting into 2022 with my 12 20-gram skein set from Knit Style Yarns, I am hoping to do the Adventurer Cowl, another really gorgeous pattern by Amba O'Brien. It's a very gorgeous cowl with lots of fun shaping and a little bit of lace work. I think you start with the provisional cast on, add all your minis, and then seam it together with a 3-needle bind off at the end. I really think that's going to be beautiful with her more speckled Advent set. Finally, with my Suburban Stitcher Advent, I've never purchased any yarn from Suburban Stitcher, but I'm familiar with her and I think her yarn is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm extremely excited to work with her 2021 Advent. With hers, I plan on knitting the River City Wrap by Alison Locicero of Freckles and Pearls. I have knit her entrelac scarf before, and I think she's a really great designer. This is another very beautiful shawl that you just add kind of one stripe with each color and see how it kind of fades and blends with each other. I really like the lace motif on this pattern as well. I think it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and some of the pictures that they show on Ravelry were using the Suburban Stitcher 2020 Advent, and I think that knit up absolutely beautifully. So I'm looking forward to knitting the River City Wrap with my Suburban Stitcher Advent next year. Now I hope to have plenty of leftovers with all of my Advents, and if I'm getting gauge and working it up the way that the pattern calls for, I should have plenty of leftovers. And I'm planning on doing another video very soon where I talk about things that I might work on. I have a lot of leftovers from all of the Advents I've ever had, so I'm looking forward to talking about what my plans might be with those in the very near future. But at the very least, I would love to add a square of each of my minis to my coziest memory blanket. That is top priority after I add the minis to whatever project I'm putting them into. Now time to talk socks. I will be participating in Sockmas hosted by Natalie of the Love and Stitches podcast. I was able to purchase both skeins of her sponsored yarn this year, and I definitely plan on using them during Sockmas, which begins right after Thanksgiving here on November 26th. Like I said, she had 2 yarn dyers that made very special skeins for Sockmas. The theme of Sockmas is the castle at Magic Kingdom in Disney World. So Addison of Ruby and Rose's yarn created a very special colorway about the castle during the day, and Nicole of Mountain Mist Yarn Company created a very fun self-striping yarn that was inspired by the colors of the castle at night. Here is the Castle by Day colorway. Ruby and Rose's yarn, the very young and talented Miss Addison. A gorgeous, gorgeous speckled yarn on kind of a minty green base. With this skein, I plan on knitting the String of Lights socks by Sock Witchery. I showed this on my last podcast, but here once again is the Castle at Night colorway by Mountain Mist Yarn Co. It is a gorgeous self-striping yarn. And then she included 3 minis. I think I'm going to use this mini for the toes, this mini for the heels, and this mini for the cuffs, I think is going to be my plan. And with this sock set, I plan on knitting the Socks on a Plain pattern by Laura Linneman. I also hope to cast on a vanilla pair of socks with this special colorway from Clark and Elle on her Stellina base. This is called I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, and I think that will knit up very beautifully. I'm looking forward to casting this on. And then for my December socks for the Desert Vista Dye Works 7th Annual Monthly Sock Club, I planned on casting on this beautiful colorway called Dreidels in honor of Hanukkah. I think I will just do a plain vanilla sock with this as well, just because it's got kind of some dark black and dark blue stripes that I don't know if the stitch pattern would translate very well on those dark colors. And I love just letting these stripes speak for themselves. So this will be my December socks, finishing my 2nd year of doing the Desert Vista Dye Works Monthly Sock Club. And then finally, I will be knitting the Cozy Knitters 24 stripe advent skein. This will be my 3rd year doing that. I'll insert some pictures of the last 2 years, the socks I created with those colorways. I will be knitting those 2 at a time, toe up. I did get her extra mini, so I will cast on the toes before December 1st using that mini, and then I will be ready to add the first stripe on December 1st. You add 1 stripe every day all the way until December 24th, and then I will probably cut in an afterthought heel and do the cuffs with the extra mini as well. 1 infinity scarf, 1 wrap, and 5 pairs of socks. Those will be my projects I focus on this coming December. Show you a few other projects that I have knit from past Advents, just to give you a little bit more inspiration in case you need some ideas about what to knit with your scraps or Advent calendars. What I'm wearing is my adventuring cowl. This is another pattern by Amba O'Brien, and it is kind of knit on the bias with some pretty eyelets. It is knit flat and then seamed together with the 3-needle bind off at the end, much like the adventurer cowl that I am planning on knitting this year. This I knit out of the 2020 Advent from Knit Style Yarns, and as you can see, it's just so much fun just seeing all the different colors pop. And this one didn't use very much of any of the minis, so I have plenty leftovers in all of these colors. I have also in the past done the Land of Sweets cowl by Helen Stewart. This is out of the Yarn Cafe Creations Christmas in July 2020 Advent calendar, and then also from July 2020 using her Christmas in July Advent calendar. This is the Sugar Pie Honey Bunch shawl by Laura Concert of Lollipop Girl Yarns. This was a 10-gram advent calendar, and I was able to make each of these stripes using 10 or less grams of her advent calendar from July 2020. From my Christmas 2020 advents, I did knit, this is the Hearten cowl, also by Helen Stewart, knit out of the Legacy Fiber Arts Advent Calendar. This was a really fun knit. I only cast on about half the stitches that the pattern calls for, and my only thing with this is that it might look a little bit better with a more solid or tonal set of minis, because there are certain sections that stripe between 2 colors, and because these were so speckled and variegated, the lines kind of got blurred. So if you wanted crisper stripes in your Hearten cowl, I would suggest using more tonal or solid colors. I also knit the Round and Round cowl by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. This was out of the Hue Loco Fade Advent from 2020. Really loved how this looks as well. It would be fun to knit this again with more distinct color changes. I like how it looks in the fade, but if I knit this again, I'll try to make different color changes so you can kind of see the zigzagging of the pattern a little bit better. And then finally, this is the Noah shawl. This I knit out of the Clark and Elle 2020 Christmas Advent out of her Sparkle Stellina base. This is a pattern by Knitty McPurley, Devin Ventry, and it was a lot of fun to knit. Lots of different stitch patterns in each of these stripes and kind of an interesting shape. You even finish with a few little tassels. Well, I think that's about all I have for you this time. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I hope I gave you some inspiration and ideas about what you can do with your scraps or advents. Please let me know, what are your December knitting plans? I'd love to know what you're planning on knitting this time of year, whether it's with an advent or not. And also let me know what your favorite patterns are for using scraps or advent calendars. I'm always looking for good ideas to use up minis. Please share your ideas in a comment down below or message me on Instagram. I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I would love to connect with you there. But until next time, be well, be kind, and happy Advent and scrappy knitting. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.